Let's talk about a brand new Ford Maverick model. So yes, there will be a new Ford Maverick model coming up soon because we've seen spy photos from Ford Authority, and I've got a lot to say about this. So you're going to want to watch right to the end because we're going to be talking about the size of the battery that we saw on those spy photos, why it might be on the outside. I don't fully agree with the conclusion that Ford Authority came up with, and I'm going to be playing a bit off of that. So let's get started right now. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and if you like the type of content we do, or you just want to help out a guy in his dressing and feeding his poodle, you just need to hit that like button, and please do subscribe to not miss out on any awesome Ford news. Lots of info to share on Ford because I've been following Ford for quite some time now, for almost a decade, and I've been following them for far longer than that. So let's get right into this. This is going to have a lot of facts and a little bit of speculation, and we will pretty much figure out what that model is. Okay, so Ford Authority has come out and gotten us some amazing spy photos. So you're definitely going to want to go and read that article. I absolutely love following Ford Authority. That's the news source that I enjoy reading, I believe, the most. And I do hope you enjoy watching my news content. If not, I can always do car reviews. They sure are fun. But driving a Maverick is fun, but covering the content is actually pretty exciting. So let's talk about, first of all, what Ford Authority had to say about these spy photos, which you'll be seeing popping up, and also what I've got to say about it, because I've definitely got some differing opinions, and I will base that on some facts, because that's always very important, facts and data. So I've done my research here. So Ford Authority, they're concluding that this is an all-wheel drive hybrid. Now, why would they think it's an all-wheel drive hybrid? Well, first of all, there's the FX4 sticker that's on the vehicle. So that's an all-wheel drive sign. The rear suspension, they do talk about how the rear suspension is independent. So it's an independent suspension system in the rear, and that's currently only on the EcoBoost. And they've got one other point to bring out here, and that's the battery pack on the side of the vehicle. So they're saying, hey, this looks like a hybrid, an all-wheel drive hybrid. Which will frustrate some people because, some people like us, we've been waiting since July 17th of 2021 for our hybrid. We went Luxe package. We knew not to put on any accessories, but I couldn't convince Marie out of that Luxe package, and she really wanted the spray-in. So we only removed our spray-in about 5 weeks ago. We didn't switch to the Luxe package 54B to put on the drop-in, which is a plastic bed liner. She really wanted the spray-in. We just did that 5 weeks ago to help move us forward, but we're probably getting pushed forward to a 2023. And even if they offer eruption green as a color, she still wants her Maverick in Area 51, which was the most popular color for 2021. Now, Ford Authority goes on to say maybe it's a high performance model like the ST. They do note that it's higher up and it has aggressive tires. So normally an ST, you look at any of the ST models, Edge, Explorer, they don't have more aggressive tires. They have street tires. So let's go through all the reasons why I don't think this is just a very simple hybrid all-wheel drive. I think there's a lot more going on here, and we're going to really dive deep into this, talk about battery weight, battery sizes. So let's really put the pedal to the metal and get to the nitty-gritty, the good stuff. So here's why I don't think it's an ST. Very simple. It's got the aggressive tires. An ST wouldn't necessarily be getting tested off of an FX4, and at the same time, if it was an ST, you'd probably have different mags or hidden mags. And do we really need an ST Maverick? Now, that would be a way for Ford to make a little more money, maybe to convert some current people who are going to be converted from 2022 to a 2023 model year, to get them to switch over and wait a little longer, just like they did with the Raptor, the Bronco Raptor. I think it was really great. A little reward if you've been waiting since summer or fall of 2020. You get the choice to, you get your first pick hands on the Bronco Raptor. So that's really cool. Would they do this with an ST line model? I don't know if the ST line model has enough popularity to get people to wait even longer. I do think, though, if you're looking at a Maverick, well, a Maverick Raptor. Could it be a Maverick Raptor? If it's a Maverick Raptor, it's going to need a bigger engine. Even if it's a Tremor, it's going to need a bigger engine. You think about the F-150, and they'll only allow the 3.5 liter EcoBoost with its 500 pound-feet of torque in the F-150 Tremor. So Tremors essentially are really beefed up FX4s, and I'd say they're calmed down versions of Raptors. So could we get a Raptor or a Tremor in the Maverick? Yeah, there's a lot of popularity around those names right now. They're 4x4, this would be an all-wheel drive, but why put the battery on the outside? And what is up with that battery? What kind of size battery are we talking here? Well, Ford Authority did point out that currently they did this really well, as they pretty much always cover things extremely well. They rarely ever get things wrong. But maybe this is that quarter of a percentile moment. So they did point out very accurately that currently we don't have an all-wheel drive hybrid for the Maverick, because the new electric motor, which is built slightly different than the Escape's electric motor, that when it blends to the ECVT, well, because of the ECV transmission and that new motor, there's some modifications that need to be made, and there needs to be some modifications made to the rear suspension. So we see this driving around with the rear suspension, but that battery, really, the whole story gets told in that battery. The battery that's on the side of the door would be probably what looks like about a 58-pound battery, and oddly, it's about the size of what fits underneath the current hybrid Maverick's rear passenger seat. So that's where on a regular hybrid Maverick, your battery is a 1.1 kilowatt battery, and it's located underneath the rear passenger seat. So you lose a bit of bin space. But why would they put the battery on the outside of the vehicle and then basically condemn that door by putting an orange, the orange stickers or orange cabling at Ford basically means watch out, don't touch, high voltage. So they don't want that door opened. Obviously, the wiring is coming from underneath the vehicle. Why take that 1.1 kilowatt battery and put it on the outside of the vehicle? If you're just testing a current, basically modified current Maverick hybrid that has the suspension from the EcoBoost, you would need to put it there. If you're using, the straight up system from the current EcoBoost, well, the battery you could just put it in the bin, basically the bin space underneath the seat, where it currently is located on the hybrid. What I think is really going on is that we've got pretty, really simply, I think underneath those bins right now, the vehicle inside that they're testing, I think they're testing a 14.4 kilowatt hour battery. So that's really awesome, because that would be the battery from the Escape. That would be a plug-in. And that would have to weigh about, well, I was looking at different batteries and I couldn't get the exact weight and dimensions on the current Escape's battery. But let's say it weighs 400 pounds. Whereas a 1.1 kilowatt battery, roughly not quite 14 times smaller. Let's say that weighs somewhere around 50 to 58 pounds. Well, you could attach a 50 to 58 pound or maybe 40 pound battery on the side of that door. But why would you do it when you can just put it in the underbin storage where it's currently located? So I think what currently is underneath those seats would be a 14.4 kilowatt battery, which means, could it be a performance ST model? Well, definitely if you're running a plug-in, you've got more power. We see it in the Escape. You take the 2.5 liter hybrid engine and then you throw it as a plug-in. Well, the electric engine, added on electric engine, bigger battery and whatnot. The plug-in Escape is the most powerful Escape besides the 2 liter. So could they possibly be testing a 2.3 liter plug-in Maverick, the same system that they'll be having in the Ranger? Possibly. Or they could just be testing out a 2.5 liter hybrid engine with the electric motor, just like on the Escape, but with a bigger battery. And maybe with the new system, they'll have your 14.4 kilowatt battery, which is rechargeable, and maybe they'll still have that 1.1 kilowatt battery, so that when you, let's say, a plug-in, you can force them to be 100% electric. When that big battery, 14.4 kilowatt hour battery, is essentially non-functional. It's not empty, but it acts as if it was empty. It takes itself out of service, keeps a slight charge so it won't freeze. Well, once that's down, if you've noticed, if you've driven an Escape plug-in, you still get, if you reset right when the big battery is empty, you still get hybrid mileage. You still get about 5.5 to max if it's winter, maybe 8, but probably more like 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Well, what I'm thinking is that's what's there. You've got the big battery, and I would think that when they do a plug-in Maverick, they'll probably have also a 1.1 kilowatt battery, so that remains nonetheless a hybrid. My thoughts there, you can tell me I'm completely wrong, but I really want to know why. So if you leave a comment, please, try to throw in a bit of justification, because we're growing here as a community. No one has all the right answers, and the more we help each other out, the more we'll know. So let's spread some knowledge. Hey, I would absolutely love if someone from Ford secretly let me know what was going on, but that's not the case at this time and moment. But yes, that is probably a 1.1 kilowatt unit on the side of the door. Hey, worst case scenario, they're testing out just a straight up hybrid all-wheel drive. A lot of people are going to be happy. Some are going to be frustrated because as it is, getting those 1.1 kilowatt batteries has been a bit of an issue. We had all sorts of delays for them to start making the current front-wheel drive hybrid Maverick, and we never knew why. Apparently it's because of, EPA testing, but then even once the numbers came out, they weren't sending them out from factory. So I've got, a high suspicion of something, and it's recall related, and we're currently seeing on the Mach E, not causing really any major issues, but I also believe that it's causing major issues at many other manufacturers. So let's get into this quickly. I'll talk more about it in the next live session when Marie's here, but she couldn't be here tonight. She's at watching a musical performance put on by our nieces, and I'm here doing the channel, but I'll get it all recorded. Right now I'm recording for y'all, but right now the Mach E, it's got a ban on deliveries. You get a Mach E, your Mach E shows up at your dealership, they cannot deliver it. And here's why. The batteries themselves, on the inside of those batteries, whether you have, no matter what battery you have, the extended range or the standard range battery on the Mach E, the terminals inside the battery, there's a positive and a negative terminal. And if one of those terminals corrodes or loses its coating, the vehicle won't start. And if you're really unlucky and it loses both of those coatings, well, the vehicle won't shut off. That one instance will get the battery to be a little hotter. Now, Ford has a system that ensures that when one terminal is corroded, it won't allow you to start the vehicle. It could start the vehicle, but the system itself does not allow for the vehicle to start because it knows that battery is going to run hotter than it should. Long term, I believe, this has not been, admitted by any manufacturer, but I strongly believe that running your battery hot once, you're not going to get your fire then. What's going to happen is that those terminals, over time, not being properly coated, will have the batteries constantly run hotter, and eventually, with wear and tear, that's when you encounter fires. Now, Ford has not had any issues that I know of with fires on any of their electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, so on any of their electrified vehicles. This has been a major issue for other manufacturers, but we don't hear so often about other manufacturers' electric or hybrid vehicles just refusing to start, that they stay, dead in the yard. And I wonder if that's because, other than maybe Audi, which so far I haven't heard any bad news in regards to, fires. I don't think there have been any EV fires at Audi. And I think both companies, well, I know Ford has the system to ensure that it doesn't start up, but I wonder if manufacturers who have had fires, it's just because either the parameter for allowing the battery to get hot, those parameters are set much higher, or maybe there's not an automatic shutdown or a system that allows the vehicle to just not start altogether. So I know a lot of people will be, worked up about this. You'll have full-time professional journalists saying that the Mach E is now, we had one for our province, the big name in our area, basically saying that the Mach E is the worst vehicle ever, that this is the biggest deal ever, which I think is ridiculous. And there's no justification to get that worked up about it. And I doubt the individual's actually that worked up about it. I think it's about getting attention, but you're just not, comparing apples to apples. Right now, Mach E's can't be delivered because Ford wants to correct them. And if your vehicle does, happen to not start in your yard because the coating on on those terminals get ruined, well, guess what? They're going to, keep your vehicle at the dealership. And they're going to want a solution. So Ford is playing it essentially very safe. So that's one way to do business. Another way to do business is to let people keep driving their vehicles. They heat up, the batteries get hotter, and I think, but no one's admitting it, but I highly suspect that everyone has a problem with the coatings on the terminals, because before this happened, Ford was already working, and Ford's not the only one. Every manufacturer that I know of, the big names around here, not little Chinese EV manufacturers, but they're working on different ways to coat those terminals. And Ford was already working on a different system, different materials to coat those terminals, because it's about the charge cycle. They wanted to get more charge cycles out of the battery, and batteries essentially, part of the reason their charge cycles aren't as long as we'd like them to be. So a charge cycle is when you charge a battery, run it to empty, and recharge it again. So lithium ion batteries, I strongly believe charge cycles are definitely affected by the coating on the terminals, and it's pretty obvious because Ford said we're working on changing how these terminals are coated because we want longer charge cycles. So I'm thinking, bringing this back all the way to the Maverick, thinking that those batteries were delayed because it's about getting quality batteries. Ford also delayed the Escape by actually basically a whole year. The Escape hybrid was delayed. One, I think that's about getting quality batteries and enough quality batteries. And two, well, I think that it's an issue that maybe even with the Mach E, when there's a first little delay at first, maybe that, and they said it was about in regards to programming and fixed with programming, well, maybe that's because they're implementing this system. So that's all speculation. What's not speculation, they are working on getting these batteries to have longer charge cycles by changing how the process or the materials behind coating those terminals. Mach E's, they're going to be undeliverable until they can either change the programming to help resolve the problem or possibly even change the terminals. So we'll see, and I'll keep you updated on that. I'll also keep you updated on, of course, Bronco news and the 2.7 liter, giving a lot of perspective on that, talking about at the same time, Jeep transmissions and Jeep rust issues, because that's going to be a big one. So if you're a Bronco fan, you're definitely going to want to catch that content. So do like and subscribe. I've said everything I've got to say for the moment. I'll leave the rest for the next live with Marie. But I'm thinking that for the Maverick, if you have an all-wheel drive hybrid, why put the battery on the outside? That doesn't make sense to me. Why show the FX4 sticker? I think what we're seeing, yes, a Ford Authority, I completely agree with them that we're looking at probably, they said a high performance. I'd say a higher cost model. So I'm thinking Tremor or Raptor. I'm thinking more power, and, a Raptor I would think would need a 2.3 liter plug-in and a plug-in 2.5 liter. Probably call it a Tremor. And you get, you'll get people to switch over and wait longer for these, pretty awesome models. The F-150 Tremor, I'd say is a 10 on 10 for a truck for its price range. And the Raptor, I will need to test it to say it's a 10 out of 10, but I do definitely like its specs and the suspension, the whole setup. So if you like this type of content, if you like getting in depth on the current news, you like getting a little intel from the inside, you're at the right place. I'm Johnny for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. please like and subscribe. And until next time, I do hope you get more cars and more power, that your Ford or whatever model you've ordered, because delays are everywhere. I hope you get that sooner. I do wish you more, of course, that you get to put the pedal to the metal. Take care and have a great weekend. So Mary, I know that you may be wondering why I spent kitchen countertop money on beaten up MR2. Well, it's childhood memories. But honey, to make it up, I bought you some.
Memories are almost 40 years old crisis.
Yeah, but I do have a surprise for you to try to pardon me. So here's a pro tip. It doesn't always work, but when you've done something wrong...
The same episode.
Yeah, it's not worth the same, but when you've done something wrong, you can definitely try your best to make up for it. And it depends how bad you've been. But let's go see. Why don't you open up what I got you? It's in the back.
Oh, you got me. More flowers? More cars and more flowers.
Yeah, it's the new channel.
Cool. Oh, I see hibiscus here. Wow.
Nice.
Is it for me or is it for you? That one's your kind of flower.
That one's my kind of flower, maybe just a wee bit.
But I see some of you other kinds. Oh, wow.
And here, why don't you do the little trick to open up the top here in the back? There's two little clamps on the corners.
I never knew that. Okay. I was always doing the groceries, and it's now that you tell me that there's a trick. I was always like that with the bags.
I thought you watch my Bronco videos.
Not that part. I'm sorry. How can I open it? Okay, like that and like that. Oh.
And there's a little stick, like on an engine bay. There's a little stick here.
Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah. There you go, babe.
Oh.
And way more flowers.
Wow.
So yes, there's more cars, but there's also more flowers.
That's the kind of flower that I told you to buy.
Yeah, they're
nice.
They're out of the singular ones, so I bought you the whole pot.
Cool, thank you.
So am I almost forgiven for buying that old MR2?
Almost.
Almost? Almost.
Depends on the time that you will need to do on the car, and I will listen to everything you need to do, but for now that's fine.
And shortly after this happened, so we've recruited Marie to play Fetch the Socket. My idea for the tape, but putting it on my middle finger this was a job that annoyed me quite a bit, but if you do drop a socket inside when you're changing your spark plugs, turns out that putting it on your middle finger, that's the only finger that would fit down deep enough into that hole, got the socket out. So,
stop showing your middle finger like that to people.
Duct tape.